Yeah.
That is if you want to talk about
Right.
spirit guides. Specifically, not specifically, specifically, what are they? Who are they?
Yeah.
What do they do? And how can we communicate with them? Because
my
inquiring
God.
minds want to know.
Lord Jesus, that's a big question. I gave a whole class on spirit guides, but to break it down for our spirit poppers. So spirit guides are not a being. Spirit guide is a role filled by many beings. Playing a role, not playing a role, but occupying a role to help you in your life do the things that you as a soul came here to do. Because before you were ever born into this world, you had a blueprint. Like you had things that you wanted to do. Bryan, you wanted to be born in Pennsylvania for some reason. You wanted to end up in, Florida for now. You wanted to meet the people that you were going to meet that were important to you, gain the knowledge, have the lessons. Like this as a soul is what you wanted to do. And you have a team in spirit that is there to facilitate that for you. Now, you can have temporary guides, like say you're writing a book, and because you're writing a book, you call in a guide who can help you resource what you need to know in terms of knowledge, or help you with your skill level and all that stuff. You can attract guides that are there, and once you've written your book, they cycle on out, they move on to the next person. And then you have permanent guides as well. Everybody has what we kind of popularly call a guardian angel, which usually aren't angels, but can be an angel. Everybody is born with at least one being that attends to them and walks with them through this entire experience. And they're like a soul friend. And these are typically ancestors, soul group people, and higher dimensional beings. And again, sometimes can be angels. But the spirit guides that I personally have connected with have always been like ancestors. Like my mom is one of my guides since she passed in 2012. And she told me too, before she died, she's like, whatever I can do to get back to you so we can continue to do what we love to do in the world of paranormal, I'm going to do. And she's done some things. She's not as evidential as I'd like her to be, but she actually helps facilitate some of my work as a guide. But then I have elemental guides, which are like, tree spirits. And I've encountered interdimensional beings, specifically Arcturians. That's a whole Oprah that we don't have to watch that episode right now. But there are all kinds of guides. So without me hogging all of this, because I do teach on this subject, why don't you tell me what you think about spirit guides? And have you ever met any of your spirit guides? Who are they?
No, I'm just kidding. So when I was younger, I was always of the opinion that a spirit guide was, and this is before I got, any type of knowledge into this sort of thing, but I always felt like it was someone that always felt close. They felt like a friend. So you're talking about what, soul friend, that resonates with me a lot, because I feel like you have to have a friendship because it's a partnership. Essentially, it's, a spirit level partnership, but it really is a partnership. I don't know. I think that I have met a guide or two, but I'm not super conscious of it. It's been during meditation. I have gone up, I say, and sort of communed, but it's sort of more of a, I didn't see them. I more or less felt them. I felt that familiar energy. And when I've come out of that meditation, I had a little bit more knowledge, and it was more like I was meditating on something specific, something that was going on in my life, something that I just needed more information and answer to, maybe help pinpointing a direction. But I never felt like they would ever tell you, Bryan, you need to do this. I felt like it was, you've asked this sort of open-ended question, what direction should I go? I'll give you some information to sort of sway you in a general direction, but you have to take the step. You have to make it, you have to make it happen, but I can help guide you there. Guide. So that's what I kind of felt. I do have a connection to a tree spirit of a big tree. It's an acorn tree. It's a huge acorn tree that's not on my property, but it's behind my fence in the back. And when I just touch that tree, the energy is just amazing. And we've sort of had conversation. And by that, I mean, I talk and I don't hear anything back, but I feel it back. And it's interesting because that tree is very old. Probably, I'm not super, super old, but definitely probably older than I am. And it has a very rich, if I were to sort of visualize, it would be sort of a grandfather, but sort of a grandfather you would sit on his lap and he would give you a Werther's candy. Like it is a very loving,
I love that.
There's a laugh about that tree. There is a laugh. It is a hearty laugh.
I love
and
that.
It's just, and so whenever I go outside, I always go over to that tree and give him some love.
Well, there is this idea that I learned it from this lady in Utah when I visited once, that every piece of property has a grandfather tree, like an anchoring tree and tree spirit that nourishes the system of all the trees in that space and spot. Like, because, trees talk to each other through the root system, and this tree knows what that tree needs and sends it the nourishment and things of that nature. So it's like such a beautiful thing, but there's always that one energy that's anchoring and gridding the entire ecosystem of that place. And so that's really cool that you were able to kind of intuitively get a sense for that. And I had the property that I was living at before. It was a 5-acre property and there were over 1,000 oak trees, but I was able to find the one tree on my property that was gridding. And I would frequently take little gifts out there, like, pieces of, sometimes I would put like little crystals, colored crystals. And I would also take little pieces of like pound cake that I'd make, things that would be absorbed into the earth, biodegradable. The squirrels could eat it. The ecosystem would be benefited because of it. Like, I wouldn't put out any plastic thing, for example. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Put out natural things. But I'd always offer like little gifts to the property. Like, thank you, property, for taking care of me. Thank you for protecting me. While Jeremy's traveling, I'm here safe and all of my trees have got my back. So anyway, not to go out on a tangent.
That is beautiful.
It is. I want to tell you a story, though, about this guide that I met once. It was the weirdest experience. It was the middle of the night, and you know how you kind of start to come up from the depths of your subconscious and you start to wake up. You're not completely awake yet, though. You're about maybe
it's like
one
a
quarter.
Twilight feeling.
It's a twilight.
Kind of, yeah.
Right. You can sense things, but you're still deep and cozy in the sleep of it all. Anyway, so as I'm kind of coming up from the depths of my sleep, I begin to hear something. And it's a conversation that's taking place on the side of my bed between a man and a woman. And they're talking about something, and I can just barely make it out, but it's like a rousing conversation, like they're really having a talk. But as I'm coming up and I'm starting to get alerted to the conversation, so I'm starting to wake up more, I hear her say, "Oh, I'm waking up." And I hear him say, "Okay, let's stop this now." And I recognize that was my voice. I heard myself talking, and I was talking to a man. And so as I'm coming up, I say, "Wait a minute, who are you?" to the man. And because I was starting to wake up, I was saying it so slowly in the hypnagogic state, like, "Who are you? Tell me." And he said, "Joseph. My name is Joseph." And then I woke up. But what I was actually doing was hearing myself in my light body in the astral or another dimension, having a conversation with a spirit guide and I could hear it right beside my bed. I could hear myself talking to this guide. And it's interesting to me that his name was Joseph, because I have always been just aligned with Saint Joseph. Like Joseph, the father of Jesus, right? Because what a stand-up guy when you think about it. Like, if the story of the Bible is true and Mary gets knocked up by God and he's with Mary, and now like the shame involved with having a pregnant young woman that isn't married, and nonetheless he travels with her, she gives birth to Jesus, he takes Jesus under his wing, raises him as his own child, teaches him his craft. Like, Joseph is like the epitome, the epitome of a good man to me. And I've always just dug Joseph. So the fact that my guide was named Joseph was interesting. And I always wondered, well, is that a name that he gave because of my alignment with Joseph? Or am I aligned with Joseph the Saint because I've got a guide named Joseph? I don't know. Kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Weird and cosmic.
Maybe it's both.
Maybe it's both, yeah.
Obviously meant to be.
Yeah, really
that
interesting.
Is fascinating. I love stuff like this. I could talk about this all day.
Super, super weird though. Mind bending to hear yourself, noticing yourself. Like
Yeah.
my astral self was like, oh, here comes Crystal.
But
Here
like,
comes
what-
Crystal's body and awareness.
But what a level and layer of higher consciousness you were in, and just a tribute to where you were at that time in your spiritual journey, that you were able to be self-aware of that conversation that was happening with your astral body and your physical body. You were in that in-between phase, and you could, that is
And it was
amazing.
so funny because I got the inherent sense that I didn't want them to know I was listening. I didn't want them, but of course it's me. So like, and that's the thing about dimensionality. We think, oh, the fifth dimension is over there. Well, no, we're in all dimensions all the time. It's just becoming conscious to it. And so in that moment, I was becoming conscious to it, but I was still so locked in to my 3D body that I like, yeah, I mean, the gig was up. They're like, yeah, we got to go. Here she comes. Here comes
Here
Crystal.
comes that crystal, that conscious
Waking
crystal.
up to 3D reality. But I mean, spirit guides are really interesting. You asked in the beginning, like, how do you make contact with them? Well, first, to understand that they're with you, whether you sense them or not, is important. Like they're with you, they're with me right now in this moment. But if you do want to reach out to them, you know, the world of spirit is so interesting because it responds to our inquiry. It responds to our intention. And so that's why when Jesus said, ask, and it is given. If you don't ask, though, it's not going to be given. You know, you have to have an intention and put it out there and let them know that you want it. So the first thing to do is say, hey, spirit guides, friends in spirit, I want to know that you're here. I want to know who you are. Give me a sign, and I will be observant. And that's the other thing, Bryan, is that people ask for signs all the time, and then they go right back to Real Housewives of Atlanta, and they don't pay any attention.
Yeah.
And here Spirit is doing jazz hands on the periphery of the life, and they're just like watching, you know, Nene Leakes on Real Housewives of Atlanta because we don't pay attention. And so we miss almost all of the evidences. So if you ask for a sign, for God's sakes, pay attention. And they give signs in different ways.
Do you have to ask it verbally out loud, or can you do it with your mind?
They can hear your mind talk. They can hear it telepathically. However, I like to add a layer of sound on top of that because that is energy. And that also is the essence of my soul in this life. Like sound is who I am. So I do like to speak it out if I can. I feel like it adds wings to the intention. It gets there faster or something. But if you can't, because you're lying in bed next to your big husband like I do. Like I can't just be praying out loud or doing light language and acting all crazy now. You can say it in your mind and they still hear you. So, yeah.
Fascinating.
Yes,
that was
but
a little tutorial. That's fantastic.
I just let me add, though, that there are many ways that the guides will let you know that they're there. And some of them are quite subtle because just as you so perceptively offered, they guide. They never say, do this now, unless you're about to go off the rails and die or something. Then the angel will come in and like, okay, here's we got to get you out of here. That happens. But for the most part, they always honor your free will. And when they respond, they'll give you little signs. Sometimes you might feel a little tap on your shoulder or something. You feel like a sensation in your field. Sometimes you'll actually hear something, your name being called, or maybe you can kind of perceive that conversation like I did. Other times, they will speak to you in song lyrics. I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Like,
yes.
You know, hey, let me know who you are. And then you get, hey, Joey, I'm not angry. Well, how come I hear Joey, 4 times in the next 1 week from Concrete Blonde? Well, maybe your guide is Joey or Joseph. So pay attention to song lyrics. They send messages that way. Pay attention to your dreams. If y'all are out there not having a dream journal, I don't know why
what is going on with you? You
Hello.
have to have a dream journal, and you need to write in it as soon as you wake up, or you will forget.
Absolutely. No matter what it is, even if all you remember is a feeling or a color and that's it, write it down, because keeping that journal causes you to have more dreams. And so work with your dreams, patterns, synchronicities. You know, an angel loves a pattern. A pattern of 3. If you're becoming aware of something repeating in your environment 3 times, it's often guides or synchronicities. Seeing 1111.
I see that all the time.
All the time.
I will be doing a billion other things. And at work, I'm like all over the place.
Yes.
And I will sit, and for whatever reason, I'll just do like that. Mm-hmm. Because my phone sits to the side, and it'd be 11:11.
Yep, I know. And I think some people are like, oh, the angels are giving you a message. Maybe. But I often think that's just a activation or an attunement. Like,
I agree.
yeah, it's an
I
activation.
agree.
Because if you partner with it, you can kind of feel it
Yeah.
as it's being downloaded.
I mean, do I believe at 11:11 energy's a little heightened because numerically the vibration? Sure. But I absolutely believe that is an activation. I've always felt that. And some of my friends are like, no, that's not. Yes,
I believe it is. I believe it
Yes.
is. Also, things moving on this corner of your eyes. That's often how spirit starts to just kind of make themselves known to you. And also flashes of light that you see with your eyes closed or open can be
I
guides.
see that a lot. Do you know I see when I close my eyes? What? I'm going to do it again. Watch.
Closed.
Open. So when I close my eyes, I see gold or purple. And it's swirling
Yeah.
energy. I always see that. It's always gold or purple.
You know what?
I mean, purple is my favorite color, but
I have to tell you, what are we?
purple. Look, I said purple, and purple showed up. Just
Oh, how
saying.
beautiful. Yeah, in your background. Okay, we have some time. So when I was a kid, I was a spiritual kid. My dad was, I told you, he's an animist. He believed in spirit. Like, he believed in all of that. So did my mom. She was completely psychic. Anyway, I remember being like in middle school, second grade, third grade. And we'd have to put our heads down on the desk, or like we're taking a little time out or a nap. And as I put my head down and my eyes were closed, I would always see like patterns of light. And these would just swirl around and morph. And then in the light, I would see, and in the darkness, the void, I would see patterns and like grid lines. And I remember thinking as a child, oh, this is God. I remember thinking very clearly, oh, this is God. This is where God is. And I would just hang out with my head on the desk or at home, just watching the lights and watching the patterns. Because if you can do that and stay kind of passive and not get too activated by what you're seeing, you can start traveling through wormholes. You can start traveling and having different transdimensional experiences. I really believe that's the portal dimension to all these other experiences. Did you see that too?
Unfortunately, I'm in a cul-de-sac, but where my bedroom is, I have a slider, and then that's my yard. On the other side over there is a neighbor that's like on the cul-de-sac. Then there's the road that kind of travels into it. There's a house over there. They've got a spotlight on the top of their house where it meets.
Man, these people.
It comes on and it shines in, so I'm not always in complete darkness. But when I'm in complete darkness, I see a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes I'll sit and stare at it. And I do when I close my eyes when I see it. But the problem is, when your eyes are closed, you still blink sometimes. Like it changes it. And I try to not sort of blink, and I try to stay with it. And I feel like the only way to describe it is it feels like I get a tickle in my solar plexus when my eyes close and I see that. And it's sort of, I feel almost like I'm being pulled forward, which I believe is probably some type of astral or soul. But when I do the blink and it changes, I'm back. So I can only go as far until my eye blinks. And I'm like, damn you.
Yeah.
Because I blink a lot.
Yeah. So when my eyes are closed, that happens when I have to reset. Cause I'm like, when I'm seeing things, I can feel my eyes start to tense up. Like I'm getting excited.
Yes.
My eyes are tensed up. So my eyes are closed. And so then I purposefully, very neutrally just relax so I don't break the trance. But even in just relaxing and resetting, it goes, and I've got to enter in again. And by the time I'm all the way back in, I'm tensing up because it's so cool in there. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just
that is me 100%.
Super awesome. And I mean, there's a lot that you can see when your eyes are closed in the dark. That's why they say go inward, because that's the world of spirit. It's right inside of you. You don't have to be out here looking for it in the world. It's inside of you.
Absolutely.
To include spirit guides. Spirit guides aren't outside of you either. They're in your field. They're with you right now. The angels are with you right now. It's about you just becoming conscious to their presence. And so it is.
And so it is.